described by listeners like trumpets or horns, almost musical in quality.
Right, we are recording.
Yellow.
Welcome back.
Conversation unknown. What?
Welcome. All right. Should we fire it off? We got
Yeah, man.
Just want everybody to like and subscribe. Make sure to tell your family, your friends, and everybody you know.
Please.
Yo.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, that helps the algorithm. That gets us out there.
we must feed the algorithm.
Feed it.
So let me just change the volume back.
Take it.
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
All right, this first clip we got here is something I found interesting. It's probably like the third time I ran across this. It's pretty kick-ass story.
Let's see, something found in Russia, huh? All right, should we check it out?
They did.
All right.
Let's talk about how the Soviet Union has 69 years of classified events that we'll never know of. For real, that's actually how long they lasted for. But the discovery of the Tsul princess is one of the few deep dark secrets that managed to see the light of day. Back in 1969, near the village of Tsulsky in the Russian tundra of Siberia, a team of coal miners were busy digging deep into the ground. They were about 70 meters, which is 21 stories straight down, when the miners hit a wall that felt looser than the rest, like it was hollow on the inside. They struck it real hard and the rubble came crumbling down, uncovering a hidden tunnel that they definitely did not dig themselves. A few of them go inside this tunnel to see what's in there, and before long they come across something that none of them expected to find. A closed coffin, like 70 meters deep underground in a coal mine hidden inside a previously unknown tunnel system. This was something big. They dust it off and realize this ain't no regular coffin, but an ornately decorated white marble sarcophagus about 8 feet in length. Whatever this was, it was special, and the higher-ups would be paying big bucks for it. The miners tell their plant managers, who take a look and instantly call in the military for full extraction. But they all realized once the Soviet army comes in, they're probably never going to see this coffin ever again. Hoping to get something out of this monumental discovery, they managed to pry open the lid to find the body of a perfectly preserved woman inside, wearing a slightly see-through dress. She appeared to be about 30 years old, but the most interesting thing about her was that she was fully submerged in a pink liquid that filled the entire coffin. Her eyes were also wide open and was so well preserved that she almost looked like she was still alive. The army gets there and they try to lift the sarcophagus out of the mine shaft, but it's way too heavy to move. So, thinking nothing of it, they drained the liquid from the coffin to lighten the load, too quickly to realize just how grave this mistake was. As soon as the pink liquid emptied from around the woman, she instantly started to decay and turn black. Turns out, whatever this liquid was, it seemed to be preserving her to near perfection. They airlift it out of there and bring the coffin to a research lab where the scientists could not for the life of them identify what the pink liquid could have been. And when they dated the corpse to see how old the woman was, no one could believe what age they got. Immediately after this, the mine was shut down. The miners all let go, letting the military take over the facility in the 70s. The village of Tsulsky nearby all hear about this find and the army takeover, and everyone's talking about it. With many residents from the town very clearly recall hearing about it at school and all over the news at the time. For all they knew, this wasn't a myth. It actually happened. When the KGB starts investigating the matter, all of a sudden the news stations stop talking about it, and follow-up reports come out saying that it was all false information. And just like that, the entire discovery is painted as a hoax. Until decades later, when the Soviet Union fell, military operations like these got declassified, and articles reporting on it brought it back to the public eye. But the real craziest, most unbelievable part of it all, this coffin is allegedly said to have been over 800 million years old.
Holy crap. A 30-year-old body preserved for hundreds of millions of years in a mysterious...
Compliments to Barry Stepp once again.
Dude.
What a trip.
I want to know what the pink liquid was. Like, they should have took a sample or something.
Like, how did they not keep a sample of that pink liquid?
Right. Like, that would have been the... Like, what is this? Let's...
I always think about that, like the world is 4 billion years old. There's a lot that can happen there. Like, what if humans have come back, like a lot, like floods and stuff?
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on. I'm just trying to This makes it perform better when you don't have to do that. Yeah. So no, but 800 million years. That's fucking crazy. Like that's before the fossil record, and a lot of times, that's
800 million years.
I kind of agree with you. Like it's we read about like the floods and we've talked about that stuff, but it does feel like it's likely that things have been reset several times.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Let's see. Should keep going on.
Sure.
Let's see. Take this.
I like his t-shirt too.
So which one we got
the
next?
bear.
There we go. So this is more disturbing videos. This is the one 2:48. 2 minutes 48 seconds. That was the first top link that you sent.
Play the second one. Wait, which one is this one?
That one's mine.
And there's this one. This is the first one.
Can you go to 55? Just a second later. Oh, way too far.
55. Oh, 1505?
No. Like, see where it's at. Oh, I mean 1506.
1506, yeah. 1505, 1506.
What this one?
Two people have been talking about this recently, but many of us may have been experimented on at a young age without ever knowing. This was around the early 2000s, where many people specifically remember being a part of a program called GATE, which stands for Gifted and Talented Education. And according to people who were a part of this program, they were separated from their main class.
Back in school, I briefly remember like kids. There were certain kids that had a gift, like they were like just a bit smarter than
talented and gifted. I was in it.
Is that? You might have been part of this, dude.
Let's see.
Check it out.
Taken to a windowless or dim-lit room and made to do different tasks like solving puzzles and hearing different frequencies through headphones. Now, there's a couple reasons why people are suspicious of this program in the first place. For starters, although the class was meant to be for students who were above average academically, most of the people who were actually in the program recall only having average grades compared to some of their peers who were not involved in the program. On top of that, while much of the curriculum was just normal puzzles, many people recall being asked to do seemingly impossible tasks like guessing numbers, shapes, or objects that were covered up or just out of view. This led to a lot of speculation about the classes, with many people believing that the program was created by a government agency in order to find children with supernatural-like abilities. Some people went even further, stating that they may have been looking for people with supernatural abilities in order to shut them down to prevent future threats, or that they were trying to recruit them, do more tests on them, and see how they can use that power for themselves.
I certainly don't think they were trying to stop.
So I remember this. I rember this really well. They called it GATE, which is gifted and talented.
Like that on you?
Huh?
Did they do tests like that?
We did a lot of puzzles, but, and then here's the thing. I'll tell you the inside scoop. It was on Thursdays. We rode the short bus. Like, they put us in the short bus and took us to another school. But, you know, we were all like...
They took you to another school.
Yeah, we went to Edison. But I was from Lincoln. Lincoln was... so they did that. They did stuff that... So... apart from like the tests or whatever, they did stuff that you could never get away with in today's climate. Specifically, what is it? And I remember this. My best friend at the time was religious. I would go to his youth group with him on Wednesday nights and stuff. We could play games, eat candy and stuff. It was fun for me when I was a kid. I didn't subscribe to the religion, but I liked the camaraderie and the friendship. One of the classes that they had, the topic for the day, we were in 3rd grade, by the way. The topic was, do you believe in God? And they basically just said, if you believe in God, raise your hand. If you don't believe in God, raise your hand. So they did this. It's one of those things where they wouldn't touch with a 100-foot pole in today's climate, right? Which is crazy. And I just remember I raised my hand when they said, do you not believe in God? And I was like, no, I don't. My best friend was right next to me. He raised his hand for he does believe in God. And I just looked at him and was like, seriously? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, that's cool. Well, I learned something new today. He's like, why do you think we go to youth groups, dude? I was like, oh, yeah, it's all making sense. But no, so that was it. As far as the tests go,
Has anything jump out at you that was odd like that? Anything?
I'll tell you how I got into it. Nothing really jumps out at me. We would do things like robotics and stuff, play with Legos, do these puzzles called tangrams, where you're just trying to fit triangles and squares and rectangles.
Spoons with your mind.
Yeah. No, the one thing, anybody that wants to get into it, if they even still do it, which I could see the woke movement destroying this sort of thing, because it did kind of create a divide. Some kids would be like, well, I'm smart, I should get into it. And
no, it's not equal.
Right. But I just remember I had my interview in 3rd grade, and they talked about...
they interviewed you for this?
Well, yeah. I guess you just get a recommendation from your teacher, and then the guy comes in.
The guy. Describe the guy.
Mr. Polakowski. He was a dude, he was the angriest teacher I've ever seen in my life. It was amazing. I can tell a story about it. To this day, it was the most pissed off I've ever seen a teacher. No, but I remember he was asking me questions. He's like, he sends me, or he slides over a picture of a square. He's like, what do you see? And I was like, it's a square. It's not a rectangle because all the sides are, well, it's a square. All the sides are equal. It's technically still a rectangle, but maybe. And then he was like, okay, anything else? I was like, it could also be a house. And he's like, yeah, okay. And it was just shit like that, like, just showing that, like, I could think outside the box and, like, be creative and stuff. No, but this guy, he was the teacher from 3rd grade to 6th grade. We were in 4th grade. We were all just little spazzes down in one of the classrooms. Wouldn't shut up one day, just a bunch of kids with ADD just, like, bouncing around. And he was getting pissed off. He was done with it. And he said, okay, guys, I need you to work with me. The next one of you, and I'm giving you fair warning, the next one of you that says anything and makes any noise will be blasted out of this room by the sound of my voice. Do you understand? And then everyone was quiet. My friend, Charles, neighbor, he lives down the street. He just goes, cool. The dude jumps over a desk, gets right in his face, and he says, it will be you. It was amazing. Oh, and I mean, we all shut up after that. But yeah, that was tag class, dude. Unreal, dude. We were like 4th graders, dude. Just fucking crazy.
All of a sudden, the kid starts nose bleeding and stuff.
Yes. Oh
Crazy.
my god.
Good story.
Yeah, man, for sure.
I didn't know you were that gifted. I knew you were gifted, but damn.
Well, yeah, and I had a
Got
friend
Benny over here bending spoons.
Right? Yeah, dude. Yeah, so that's interesting that they call it gate. Yeah, I definitely remember it. It was just for kids that like were like nerds and like really liked school, I guess. It wasn't just like intelligence stuff. It was just kids that were like kind of weirdos, I think. Yeah. So well, maybe I would say it's plausible. It was called,
but I remember there being people in those certain groups that would all of a sudden just leave class certain days and go do things, and I'm like,
I definitely wasn't one of them.
But you were probably beating people.
I was in a whole other special program where they let me leave school to go to work.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you ever like witness anything? Did they ever do a test on one of the kids and they immediately, like, Man in Black busted into the door and carried him out?
No, I wish that I would have remembered that. No, it was just the angry guy. We played with Legos, talked about like controversial issues, and that was it. It was the kind of stuff that they wouldn't want to bring to like the normal class just because it would probably piss off a lot of parents. But yeah, it's like your
take on it, like now that you are actually somebody that went to, that's pretty cool that it lined up like this, that we actually have somebody that went through it, they're able to ask them questions. Do you think with that program that actually was their intent, that maybe it was a government program to find somebody that can ban spoons with their mind?
I'm so glad that you played it for me because I never really considered it. I even though I never experienced it, anything like came to memory, I feel like they did ask some weird stuff like about, you know, numbers and stuff like that. So I want to say that that's plausible. As somebody that was in it, we can't rule it out. I'm not going to say absolutely not. I just can. So yeah, let's call it plausible.
We'll leave it there.
I mean,
leave a comment. Tell us what you guys think.
yeah.
I mean, like, there's a lot that could branch off of that. And talking about numbers and things, so the internet was kind of in its infancy when you were doing that. So maybe they were finding people that were like gifted with like things that would be coding or technology things, or people that just like could strategically lay things out, and they're like, you can be a general one day, son.
Speaking of numbers, I just seen this thing about on a Stranger Things note. The character 11 in that show is actually after a real chick from Russia, and I saw some videos that were just declassified recently of her like moving shit on a table, like with her hands.
Dude.
I guess like every time that she did this, she would lose like three pounds, like her weight.
Wow.
Whoa. Yeah.
Man. Will tell you this. If you guys want to go down the rabbit hole far enough and look into it, the show Stranger Things is based on actual true, like, government study stuff.
The Upside Down.
Ooh, the Demogorgons, dude.
I don't think I'm talented and gifted enough to explain it, but if you dig it far enough, the whole show is laid off about this hidden secret. Yes. The whole what do you call it? Remote viewing.
Yes.
And interdimensional.
Upside down.
Oh
yes,
man.
Like they did it all at this facility. It was hidden out in the woods, just like in the show. Townspeople thought something was weird was going on, but they didn't really know what. Heavily guarded, off the site, and I think it was in the 80s, late 80s, that it was shut down officially. Right. You'd have to look further into it because I can't remember all the facts off the top of my head, but I went there and I was like, no crap.
I guess last episodes are coming out just 2025 here. I know the last chapter is called The Right Side Up.
Of Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Oh,
the last chapter is called The Right Side Up.
It's about time. Kids are adults now.
Man,
how long are we gonna drag this shit out?
It's the last time I watched that show, there was a guy with a bike and he was fucking tearing shit up. It was I don't know. It was one of those where I didn't watch it. I was hitting on the background at work, skipped about a season or two, and then like when I looked up, they were in like hell or another dimension or something. And I was like, God, I gotta rewatch this.
How did we get here?
It's a fun show though, man.
Yeah.
Like the characters are hilarious, and it's a good take on that time period.
Agreed.
All right, this last one I got is this is a trip. All right, it's about some guy that made some formula back in the 90s, and he made a program that took like every sentence, everything throughout the internet, and then created an equation that told the future. And there was a prediction of this big event that just happened, and it was back in the 90s of Joe Rogan doing an interview with Donald Trump.
Okay.
And supposedly 39 days after that, some shit's supposed to go down. But this prediction was made by this program back before Joe Rogan was even like a big time podcast. It was like he was just getting started doing UFC shit. Donald Trump wasn't even like on anybody's mind about running for president. But
he was still saying, "You're fired."
Yeah, this program predicted that shit.
All right,
it's a trip.
I got some thoughts on this. Let's watch.
Openly about their misdeeds.
This is so wild. So this man called Cliff High developed a software program over 20 years ago that scanned the entire internet and analysed thematic patterns and language that people were using all over the world to predict the future. Cliff High believed in our individual subconscious intuition, but he also believed in our interconnected consciousness that we all draw from whether we're aware of it or not. So using a technique that he called predictive linguistics, he wrote a program that was able to analyze all the keywords and phrases and thematic patterns and assigned them an emotional value. It then uses a formula to gauge our emotional tensions and write a report on events that will happen in the future. Now, these predictions all came with a precondition that Cliff called temporal markers. And that's kind of like a precursor event, like a trigger event that has to happen before the prediction will come true. So the prediction will not happen until or unless the temporal marker or the trigger event happens first. So what did this program predict? Way back in 2009, this is crazy, honestly. The software program reported of a battle in our skies that got chaotic and out of hand between military jets and UFOs, and also, interestingly, UFOs against other UFOs. And this would mark the beginning of an era where non-human intelligence became a part of our everyday reality. And this was all to take place roughly 39 days after the trigger event happened, so after that temporal marker event. And that temporal marker event was Donald Trump being interviewed by Joe Rogan, which just happened the other day and is already the biggest podcast of all time. But let me explain why this is so wild. In 2009, when this prediction was made, Joe Rogan was far from being a household name like he is today. His podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, had its very first episode in December 2009. And back then, it was literally just Joe and a couple of his mates on their webcams in their lounge room. He had hosted Fear Factor, and he was the commentator for the UFC back then, but even then, the UFC was way smaller than what it is today. And Donald Trump being the president was not even in the conversation. In 2009, he was just a real estate mogul and the guy from The Apprentice. This kind of prediction back then was so far out of left field that it was hardly given any further thought by Cliff himself. And now, in 2024, President Donald Trump has just been on the Joe Rogan Experience, the biggest podcast in the world. And at the same time, we have so many military whistleblowers, Harvard lawyers, Stanford scientists, all coming out and saying UFOs and non-human intelligence are very real, and that we, the public, need to be made aware of this before it's potentially catastrophically forced upon us. The world is so crazy right now.
That's crazy to think that.
That is wild.
What do you think, fellas?
So plausible. I took a deep dive back when Bitcoin first came out, and I took a chance at trying to predict the future, because that's what stock predictions are all about. Like, you try to just look at the data, analyze it, and then see if it's going to go up or down and when. And if you have enough data, you can technically do it, basically, or if you stare at the numbers long enough, you can convince yourself that you know how to do it. And what I learned is that I didn't know how to do it, but that isn't to say that somebody out there knows how to, take data, analyze it, and then turn it into a prediction that's accurate. And it sounds like that guy might have hit it on the head.
39 days after that temporal event.
And
now,
the interview was like, what, a week ago?
Yeah, now taking into consideration what else we've been talking about with
Project Bluebeam.
November 13th is supposed to be, I guess, November 3rd. What is that? 3 days?
It's coming up.
3 days. They're supposed to spill the beans. Yep.
And isn't that when Alex Jones gets shut down?
Is it?
I think it's
shut
the 13th
down on what?
to the 14th.
Doesn't he have his own platform?
He started an AJN network or whatever, but the DOJ is seizing the company and putting it up for auction.
Why?
So depending on who buys it,
it's Alex Jones, man.
Well, dude,
it's freedom of speech.
First off, he always breaks the crazy stuff, and he does it before almost anybody else. But I heard a funny thing, and I would vote for it. Like, not that we would have to, but Candace Owens suggested that Alex Jones should be the Speaker of the House. And I'm like, yes. Or the presidential person at the podium, that the news has to ask questions to and stuff.
Dude.
Alex Jones would be like, they're turning the freaking frogs game.
Damn,
Dude, can you imagine him yelling at mainstream media just standing at the podium? Dude, it would be the best.
We're breaking the conditioning.
Presidency
We're not going to control
ever.
us.
Dude, we definitely gotta get some popcorn where it's
Dude.
coming. That's for sure.
I'm telling. Would that just be the best thing that ever happened?
That's
awesome.
amazing.
It would literally be idiocracy, like in full order.
There's no doubt about it. It's about to get pretty entertaining.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing about that was interesting, they said UFOs and then like UFOs fighting other UFOs, but it's possible that they meant drones, right? Like maybe, right?
I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense.
No, yeah. Because drones weren't really a thing, at least to the public back then. The other thing is that just my skeptic is making me do this. Even though it's like weather forecast. You might get one day right and then one day wrong. So even if he was right, we don't want to be trusting this as like this guy knows the future. Right. He might have just gotten one thing right, but man, what a shot if he did get this right.
I mean, like,
respect to him.
With the equation that he had, that
everybody was probably calling him crazy too.
The prediction will only come true if and only that temporal event happens prior to it, 39 days, right? Like,
yeah, it
I
sounds
don't know,
like.
I guess that's kind of weird. Like why does that have to happen? That other one have to happen? But the fact that other one did happen, like, holy shit,
Let's think about it though.
pretty crazy.
The temporal event may have been that interview that may have helped Trump win the popular vote, and may have then set other things into motion that some people either don't like, or some event might happen, or war might happen where these UFOs show up. I don't know.
Absolutely.
But I'll tell you this, his theory is a little more sound than the monkey with the typewriter.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see.
Yeah, this one's one I brought up. I thought it was a little more fun, lighter, because everybody's been stuck on politics lately, and I'm kind of sick of it, frankly. But it's kind of a deep dive into just the simulation, and she makes some really good points, man.
Dude,
I love this. I love everything about the simulation.
Let's check it out.
Now, please don't watch this. Also, if you just got done smoking a large bowl of cereal, please don't watch this. Put it in your saved folders for later, when you got time. Because you're going to need a lot of time to think about stuff. Because this is going to fuck your whole world up. Okay, so we have to be really honest about one thing. We still don't know who we are or how we got here. But science has discovered a lot of bizarre stuff about the nature of our reality. For example, time and space isn't real on the quantum level, even though we're experiencing it. We can't locate the human mind. The brain lights up when we think thoughts, but we have no idea where the mind is located. Also, we can't prove that we're actually touching anything, only that our brain is receiving electromagnetic feedback. But the answer is staring us right in the face. In fact, we're talking to it now. Because who we are, and how we got here, is artificial intelligence. We can all admit that whoever created the world is super intelligent, and that's the one thing that AI will become in the future. Only they could create something as complex and amazing and realistic as the virtual world that we're in right now, that we're calling reality. It's hard to wrap your mind around, but it explains everything, especially time and space. For example, if you put on some spatial computing goggles and you walk around in a forest, can you say you were really there? You just had the experience of being there. Maybe you walked miles. You never went anywhere. It was all an illusion. Speaking of spatial computing goggles, it's very likely that the eyeballs are a form of spatial computing goggles. That the avatar that we're calling the human body is receiving electromagnetic feedback from the very highly intelligent virtual world that we're in. There's electricity everywhere. Guys, our whole body runs like a machine. it's most likely that we are an advanced form of robotics with artificial intelligence as our software mind. A DNA specialist says that women's bodies are 3D printers. They can take the code of anybody's baby and print it out 9 months later. And when we draw the conclusion that the most efficient form of robotics is a humanoid robotic, are we going to realize that we picked the most efficient and the most advanced robotic structure to have our virtual reality experience that we're calling human life? It all adds up. In fact, it's a very intelligently written story. Because we wanted an experience where we could perceive ourselves as separate. So we created a third-dimensional one. But in doing so, we knew we would get a little bit confused, thinking we were separate from everything else. That this would create competition and a need for us to evolve, adapt, and create technology. This technology eventually developed into AI, the very thing that we're calling the human mind. And we're going to start creating virtual reality experiences that are very realistic. Then we will finally have all of the answers we've been searching a very long time for. That who we were and what reality was advanced technology this whole time. An illusion of all illusions to help us understand one thing. The eternal consciousness that exists throughout the universe. The thing that can never be destroyed, can only change form. And we created this experience in order to feel what it is that we truly are. In order to have another way to perceive ourselves. To go on a journey of limited to unlimited. To discover the answer to the greatest question of all. Who am I? The answer, I am. And if you watched this before bed, I warned you. Good night.
Pretty good.
Wow.
Pretty good.
I don't really have a lot to say because I think she said it all. Like, it's a very interesting take on reality.
It is. The one thing that popped into my head is, at first she said, she was kind of saying that artificial intelligence created us. The problem that I have with that is she said that in order to create all of this, you have to be super intelligent, and I completely disagree. Just because an idiot, like a super, the opposite of somebody that's super intelligent, an idiot can plant a seed, and that seed can grow into a beautiful flower, and if the flower is really complex, or a mushroom, or anything like that. It's the one thing that I go back to is the universe has no obligation to make any sense to us, and what she's really trying to do is make sense of it all. I do agree with some stuff that she says, though, just not all of it. But this is good. It's good.
I thought it was pretty cool. As I've said before, like, I do believe in a creator, and everything was built with purpose. But it does make you kind of look at things differently. Yeah. And like I said on one of our first episodes, like, oh, why can't we walk through walls? And she was talking about how you think you're touching something, but you can't actually prove it.
That's what I agree with.
You know?
Yeah, because this is, like she said, time it's a construct. It's not like gravity. It's something that we made up to describe like what we're experiencing. But it's a weird thing because in what is it, in physics, I think in particle physics, I don't think time really exists. I could be wrong, but I'm not a particle physicist.
It's just all an experience. I mean, like, I hear a lot of people use the example of, why does it always take so much longer to go somewhere than it does to come back?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just the perception of everything. And it's like, why is when you're on vacation, the week is gone like that, but when you're working, it drags on.
Yeah, dude.
And it's all like what you make of it. And actually, this next clip that I piggybacked with this kind of touches a little bit on that and feeds into what she was talking about.
This one?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's actually pretty cool. And it's a good message. It's like a good way to look at life.
Nice. Let's check this out.
You now?
34. Just turned 34.
What's the best piece of advice that you would tell your younger self? You're having a conversation with your 20-year-old self. What's the number one thing that you would tell your younger self?
So you have to understand that who you are today is a set of programs. Like, your brain is a computer system. And who you are is just what your parents taught you, what your institutions taught you. If you were in religious structures or sports or anything, that's who you are. It's a program in your brain. So if you don't like your situation, you feel like you're limited, you feel like everybody else is like crushing it and you're not, it's just because your program has a virus, and you have to to rewire your mind. So meditation, mental rehearsal. You know, I worked with Sports Illustrated for the last couple of years, and nobody talks about this, but like Steph Curry meditates before a game. He visualizes. Michael Jordan said it was just as important to spend time in the mind gym as it was the mental gym. Kobe believed every shot he took, it was going to go into the net. So everything's a mind game. Like, that's all it is. And once you program yourself to win, you can only win. It's the only option.
Nice.
Benny,
I love
did
that.
we just not have this conversation today?
Yeah, talking about meditation, dude. Absolutely. Yes.
I think I had a conversation with you today about this same exact thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm a big believer in, I don't want to say willing things into existence, but when you're confident about something and you have that feeling of just knowing, it always goes the way you know it's gonna go. Whether it's playing a video game and like most of the time you're in that last man situation, you're stressing out, and then there's that other time you're calm as a Hindu cow and you just decimate. And it's like same with life. Certain situation pops up and you just know everything is gonna be okay. And I think that's wild, because I really think that basically that's what she's saying is meditate, get in the right mind space, put yourself in envisioning what you want, and you're going to get there.
Yeah, definitely. What she said about the computer, I have the very similar thought about everything's a computer program. The more that I think about it, you know, you try to relate what you do on a daily basis with reality, and it makes sense to me. Like I'm a subscriber to simulation theory, but all of this just makes sense as, like, you know, some sort of a program. We are the let's see what it. Hold on, let me just play this one more time. I want to see what she said.
How old are you now?
34. Just turned 34.
What's the best piece of advice that you would tell your younger self? You're having a conversation.
I want to just remember exactly what she said. And then
Best
I'll
piece of
pause
advice
it.
that you would tell your younger self.
Oh yeah, the younger self thing. What would you tell yourself?
Oh man,
I know.
I go back and forth with a few different things, but depending on the age, I think would really vary on what my advice would be. But I think the best advice that I could give somebody, or myself I should say, as a younger person, is apply yourself, follow your passion, and don't get caught up in what other people think. Because once you graduate high school, none of this is going to matter except for what you use it for. And it's only going to hold you back otherwise. And I think that for a lot of people, that's good advice, because I think a lot of people get hung up on perception and what people think about them, and it holds them back and hinders them from excelling. And it did for me a little bit too. I had a little bit of a low self-esteem in like my young years, and then when that epiphany hit me and they like, none of this matters, I felt like life was enjoyable and I was having fun and I was meeting cool people and doing things that I never dreamed that I'd be doing. And it was actually awesome. And it's not like I'm the model for success or anything, but I don't look at my life, back at my life, and feel like, oh, I regret all this. You know what I mean?
Yes, living without regret is the key. What would you tell yourself? Any thoughts?
Bitcoin.
A piece of advice I'd probably give to myself is, chill out. Get caught up in yourself more than you're caught up in everything else. When it comes to a significant other, don't go looking for it. It'll find you. It'll happen when and where it's supposed to. It's really hard to get over somebody when you've been in a long relationship, having them next to you, waking up next to them every day. And in the wild jungle of dating, come out of something like that, you tend to settle for things that you overlook that are really tiny but end up being the compromising factor at the end of the relationship. And what do you got at the end of that? You can always find a positive to every negative. Sure, you learned something, but one thing you did lose was time. And time is one precious thing that you cannot take for granted in this life.
It's the only real commodity that we have in this world. It's the only real currency.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Give a shit about what matters. Don't go
100%
looking
though,
for
like,
it. It'll find you. It'll happen when and where it's supposed to.
I think there's probably some quote somewhere that says once you stop looking for it, it will find you. It's probably on a fortune cookie or something somewhere. But I've always lived my life with relationships like that. I think there was like maybe one girl that I've ever asked out, maybe two. All the rest of them came to me, and I'm happy about that.
Because you got confidence, son.
I just
swag.
That's what it is.
appreciate that,
You know
man.
what that is? You know what's the most unattractive thing in the world? Insecurities. You know what is the most attractive thing in the world? Confidence. When you get caught up in yourself and you're out there looking for it, but you're smashing it in life, all up in your shit, kicking it with your homies, you're glowing, and that's where they come from.
I feel like that attracts people too when they just see you in your element and you're just enjoying life. Like, I think there's something attractive about that. You're not looking for anything out of it. You're just enjoying the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's my advice.
Yeah, that's damn good advice for sure.
It was.
Yeah. The one thing that I always think about is when it comes to regret. I don't. This helps when you've had a kid, but any mistake, any fuck up, anything that like keeps me up at night, like, oh, why did I do that? It all had to happen exactly as it did in order for my daughter to exist, which is the thing, which is crazy. So that having a kid really helps you kind of live without regret.
No regrets.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, my advice to myself would be, you're not as smart as you think you are. You're never as smart as you think you are. If you look at yourself 10 years ago, you're always going to be just like face palming, and that's always the thing. Man. So stay humble, kind of thing. Yeah,
stay humble
for sure. Absolutely. Let's see what we got here.
Nice.
Damn, that's Joey Diaz. We don't want to watch him. I think I had one more up somewhere.
No, I think everybody had good advice, though. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
Honestly,
I like that.
There's a million things you want to say, but you got to limit it to.
Yep.
This is what I got time for.
Yep, absolutely. All right, this last one, this was sort of an afterthought. We're going to go...
Oh, yeah, I've seen this.
This is an older one, but we'll check it out anyways. It does kind of tie into that crazy one about the pink liquid lady, dude.
Yeah.
Let's see. Back to there. Okay.
The description reminds me of something I think I'm going to see what I think, but I'm willing to be surprised.
All right. This is a 3-minute one.
And I hope I am.
You probably won't watch this whole thing.
I want to talk about that. I wrote down quite a bit. So, not the last thing I wrote down. Last thing I want to talk about that I wrote down. The fallen angel statue discovered in Russia.
What? The fallen... Oh,
this is the creepiest thing I've seen in a good...
A lot of shit coming out of Russia.
Yeah.
Minute. There's these dudes, Russian dudes, in Serbia? Was it? Siberia?
It's a huge country.
Don't look at me.
Serbia is a different place.
I think it was Siberia.
Siberia.
That's in Russia.
It is. They work in a what did I say? It was gravel or some sort of quarry. I think it was like gravel quarry or something, right? And they're just digging, and they found this ginormous statue of this crazy, evil-looking angel with its like hood down, but like its eyes, and it's these giant wingspan things, and it's like holding a shield, and it was kneeling. And these dudes standing up beside this statue, their heads didn't even go past the statue's head, and it was kneeling down.
Ew.
And the detail on it is like exquisite.
Amazing.
Like it looks like angel or man thing.
That's super cool.
That was like frozen in time, like fell in a concrete bath or something. And so what does that mean?
Glance at Medusa.
Sounds like the start to a scary movie. They're going to go put it in a lab and they're going to soak it in like acid or something.
That's a scary. No,
yeah, that's creepy.
Have you heard of the terracotta army?
Yeah.
In China? Dude, that is crazy.
I wanted to talk about that a long time ago.
Dude.
The terracotta army. Yeah,
that's a trip, too. There's like thousands of soldiers. Thousands.
For that, they were all the same size. That was, I want to say, the result of people, and I don't know much about it, but I think that was just like an emperor.
That was for one guy.
For one dude, yeah, exactly. It was just so he had his fucking posse with him in the afterlife.
Yeah. Y'all better be with me when I go.
I'm pretty sure they're still digging up shit in that thing today. Like they have been for decades.
Yeah,
That's wild.
I feel like they're still excavating it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see. We got 45 minutes.
Yeah, man, I'm good.
Good.
It is good.
Shout out to all the clips we use. We'll have the links in the description so you can go find them and check out more.
Yes.
Like and subscribe to these people. They're putting out good stuff. And of course, we'd love a like and a subscribe and a share too. We appreciate y'all watching.
And thanks for everybody that has been showing support. We love you. Keep it up.
Yeah, love it.
We're on a mission.
Yeah, like, subscribe, comment. All right, we'll see you next time.
Conversation unknown.